I discovered my first craft fair. It was the Old Town Craft Fair, an outdoor show in Chicago in the early 70s. And it opened a new world to me to meet artists who actually created these things. And then ended up in San Francisco for a job in 1980 and discovered the ACC Craft Fair. Again, I was just enamored. It was here for one weekend a year that I could meet the artists and talk to them and learn how they made things. And I would spend the whole weekend. I went every day looking at everything, talking to everybody, and hoping that what I wanted was still there on Sunday because I couldn't afford to buy everything that I wanted. So I had to spend the weekend figuring out what it was going to be that year. I kind of became a craft show groupie at that point. In 85, I left the corporate world to open a little business of my own, working with the designers and architects. I was marketing their services. It was like a matching service with clients, sort of a dating service for designers. And it was at the same time that the HIV/AIDS pandemic was just devastating the design community in San Francisco. And I started doing fundraising for AIDS service organizations. Still doing that today, but a few years later, I was still running my business. I really needed to do something more upbeat, and I got involved with the San Francisco Ballet Auxiliary. My sister's mother-in-law was on the board of ACC, and she looked at me one day and she said, "You'd be a great board member," because I had business experience and board experience, and I knew a little bit about the craft world at that point. Shortly after I joined the board, I was asked to be show committee chair, and I decided I really couldn't do that if I didn't go to all the shows. And so I started going to all the shows. At the time, there were 11 or 12 of them. I had just so much fun and met so many wonderful people, and the artists who became friends and the other collectors who became friends, and I became involved with a couple other organizations, and it was just a small but wonderful world.
It was important to her that the world understand this particular medium of craft, and the work of the hand was something that really spoke to Barbara. So she, for I don't know how many decades, collected work. She steeped herself into the craft world through the shows at the American Craft Council. Clipboard in hand, she was always there, no matter what, whether it was Baltimore or San Francisco or any one of the other shows, Barbara was there in support.
She has a wealth of knowledge from the past because of the number of shows she went to, the things she's seen. She knows so many people involved, whether they're patrons or makers or philanthropists like herself. Maybe they're in charge of large collections in museums. She knows so many people, and she's so well connected. She brings all that to the ACC.
And she, applied her knowledge as a marketing person and as a business person to the organization.
The council has so much been the public face of craft, and facilitating encounters between the public and the artists and their work. And their mission really is to champion craft to the public. And I think it's not so important that people know that it's craft, that label it craft. You can call it art, you can call it design, you can call it craft. Craft is kind of an intersection of the two. But I've brought friends to the craft show who thought craft was brown. We used to say brown and itchy, and they were just amazed that this is craft. And it, to me, doesn't matter so much that it's labeled. It's just, and the Craft Council has done such a good job of presenting it so beautifully to the public and introducing people to it, that I hope they can continue to do that.
Barbara has been my sounding board, and there have been quite a few things here as we have moved into these COVID years and some of the things that have occurred over the last couple of years. So I've depended on her.
The funny thing about Barbara is that she says a lot of things that are challenging when she's sitting on a board or when she's helping an organization. She really challenges people to think about things from a different perspective. And
she really pushes the thought process of what's going on at the museum. Are we having the right exhibits? Are we answering to the public in the right way. She's a great marketer, and she is always thinking about the big picture.
Sometimes that can be kind of against desires of the organization, but she makes people think and she makes people question what they're doing, which is always a great thing.
I think because of that approach, she really helped shape the entire field. There is no one else like Barbara.
I don't see it as work. My life would have been so different without this. I've made so many wonderful friends that share a common interest, and so many artists who become good friends, who make these amazing things. And I don't know, I feel like I've gotten more than I've given. It's been a great adventure.